Would you call the roll, please?
Danielle McKenzie.
Here.
Melissa Hunt.
Here.
Terry Kavner.
Here.
Adam Webb.
Here.
Mark Ham. Glenn Lewis. Jason Blair.
Here. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item 2 is the consent docket. Item A, approve the minutes of the regular city council meeting held December 5th, 2016. Item B, approve the minutes of the special city council meeting held November 16th, 2016, accept a roadway and utility easement located in the southeast quarter of Section 7, Township 10 North, Range 2 West, being north of Northeast 12th Street and west of Sunny Lane Road. Item D, accept a utility easement located in the southeast quarter of Section 18, Township 10 North, Range 2 West, being north of Southeast 4th Street and west of Sunny Lane Road, application by Highland Baptist Church. Item E, approve and ratify claims and expenditures for FY 2016-2017 in the amount of $1,841,349.42.
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Would you call the vote, please?
Melissa Hunt.
Yes.
Terry Kavner.
Yes.
Adam Webb.
Yes.
Mark Ham.
Yes.
Danielle McKenzie.
Yes.
Jason Blair.
Yes, item passes. Item 3, consider approval of a lot split located in the northwest quarter of Section 35, Township 10 North, Range 3 West, being south of Southeast 34th Street and east of Telephone Road, application by Randall University.
Vice Mayor and Council, this item will create 4 new lots at the property of Randall University, formerly known as Hillsdale College. These lots are really the first step in a future master development plan that the college is preparing, the university is preparing to add in some buildings and reallocate some spaces on the property. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, and staff does recommend approval of this application.
Sounds good.
Yeah, you heard anything negative from anybody?
No.
Move to approve.
Second. Thank you both.
Terry Kavner.
Yes.
Adam Webb.
Yes.
Mark Ham.
Yes.
Danielle McKenzie.
Yes.
Melissa Hunt.
Yes.
Jason Blair.
Yes, item carries. Item 4, consider approval of the 2016 Comprehensive Stormwater Management and Master Drainage Plan.
Vice Mayor and Council, the city has been working with Brandon Claiborne with Mishek and Associates for the past 18 months to develop this plan. He is here today to give you a brief presentation on the findings and the process, and if you have any questions, he and I are here. And just so you know, this is the master drainage plan. So the final product will be split up into smaller bite-sized portions, but it is a very comprehensive document. If you have any questions, either of us can help you.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and the council, it's good to see you again. I came before you before we started this process and told you what we were going to do, and that's what we did. And so I want to share with you a little bit tonight. If you attended the public meeting, it's going to be the same type of information. We'll try to be a little bit more brief than we were at the public meeting. We'll get through this as quick as we can. Really just hitting the highlights of the process and everything that was done, and give you a chance to ask any questions if you have any. So, overview of the project. In addition to the master drainage planning, which included developing new models and drainage studies, we also had the Lake Thunderbird TMDL compliance and monitoring plans to pull together, as well as development of an update to the city's municipal separate storm sewer or MS4 program. We'll talk about each one of these individually. First, I would like to highlight the study areas for this study included the North Fork River tributaries, which generally lie east of I-35, the Little River, which generally follows the I-35 corridor. These two come together, continue to flow south and east to Lake Thunderbird. We also have So a couple of tributaries up here that actually drain into the Canadian River. I find it really interesting as an engineer who studies drainage that this water drains into the Canadian River and is not mixed with this water until it gets many, many, many miles downstream and lakes in eastern Oklahoma. But, that's the way things go sometimes. So the process for the comprehensive stormwater management program was first to obtain schedule a public meeting. The city was unfortunate enough to experience a flood, but timing-wise, 1 week before our meeting, we had a significant flooding event in the city. That helped us get over 120 people to attend this meeting and share with us pictures and help us find areas that were flooding that maybe we didn't know about, the city didn't know about before. And that was very valuable in this process. We used that as well as input from the city to identify problem areas throughout the city. And that information in turn helped us set up our models for areas we were going to do detailed study and the types of study that we were going to do. Once we had these new models updated with current flow rates for the current development conditions, then we were able to identify different alternatives that might help mitigate flooding. Lots of times we get involved in these kinds of studies and we hear a lot of potential solutions for flooding. Some of them provide benefit and some do not. Hence the need for this type of study where you can see where you're going to have benefits from proposed projects and where it may just push the problem downstream or upstream and make flooding worse elsewhere. Once we had these alternatives identified, we worked with the city to develop a prioritization plan. And then we were also tasked with evaluating different funding options for funding these types of improvements and prepare a final report that included these cost estimates and prioritization plan. The stormwater management plan portion of the project included updating your stormwater management program, and that's dealing with the quality of the water in our storm sewer systems. And the city, the state had issued a brand new permit that said you have to develop a new program that's consistent with this new permit. We did that. We worked with the city to identify the things that the city could do to come into compliance with that new permit. We helped them submit a notice of intent to obtain permission to get that permit approved from ODEQ, and that was approved. In this permit, if you've ever looked into that before, there are things called minimum control measures. There's 6 different minimum control measures. And for each one of those minimum control measures, you have to develop activities that you're going to do to help you meet the guidelines so that you can do a better job of protecting your stormwater quality. And there's a 5-year implementation schedule outlined in that plan as well. It can always be adjusted as needed and is required, the city's required to submit an annual report every year, and this sort of serves as the outline for what they'll prepare in their annual report. The TMDL compliance plan, if I remember right, we had some discussions about that the last time I was here about what the city's responsibilities were going to be in terms of helping them come into compliance with the studies that had been done about some of the things that were impacting the Lake Thunderbird water quality in the lake. And I'm not going to read this whole slide to you, but I wanted you to have that in front of you in case you wanted to see more of the details. But I'll hit the highlights, and that is the city was tasked with reducing their waste load allocation, so that would be the pollutants that you contribute in your stormwater by 35%. And that would help to meet a total maximum daily load that was set for what would be considered a healthy loading that the lake could sustain without having excessive algae blooms, etc. This involved a public education component and a reporting framework to show within your MS4 program. It sort of ties together. In your MS4 program, it says if you are currently in an area that has a TMDL established, then you have to report on that as part of your program. So they really tie together. Even though in this case they were prepared as separate documents. And then lastly, we had to, part of what we did in the TMDL compliance and monitoring plans was, specifically in the compliance plan, was to identify what the city would need to do to be able to carry this out. And that's included in that report as well. The monitoring plan is exactly what it says. It's kind of hard to determine whether you're being compliant with a regulatory requirement on water quality without doing some monitoring to determine whether things are improving. If things are not improving, you need to adjust your plan and adjust your approach. So we identified one option is to do lots of sampling to establish a new baseline. That TMDL was set with a pretty short record of data. We think it would be worthwhile to help us identify what the specific areas of the city are and activities that are contributing the most to pollution so we can target those a little bit better. As it stands right now, the city is planning to sample at outfall sites and do the best they can while implementing the program as it was out. And both the compliance and monitoring program were approved by ODEQ. It was one of our requirements to have that done earlier this spring. We met those deadlines, and the city is in compliance. Oops. So let's talk again a little bit more about the stormwater management, about the quantity of water, so the floodplains and the detailed hydrology and hydraulic models. As I mentioned, over 120 people attended our public meeting. We identified over 71 problem areas. We used that to develop our models. We also were able to obtain detailed rainfall data from the Oklahoma Mesonet and from some researchers at OU to get detailed rainfall between May 5th and May 8th. We were able to take that rainfall data and run it through our models. And we generated a floodplain based on our new models using that rainfall data. And in many areas, it compared very favorably to the reports that we saw, both pictures and eyewitness reports of the flooding and high water marks that we observed. There were some areas where it was a little higher, some where it was a little lower. The rainfall is never exactly as it was measured. There's always going to be some variability, but it gave us a lot of confidence that our new models were doing a pretty good job of predicting, at least for that storm event, for what happened. You can also have clogging storm sewer systems or culverts that can skew results, and that may have occurred in this case, though I don't know that we had any exact evidence of that. But it's something we always have to keep in mind. Once we had the results from these models, once we had the model, we calibrated, we were pretty sure it was giving us an accurate description of what had been observed for a given flooding event. Then we run through the different, what we call return interval frequency flooding events. So the 2-year storm, the 5-year storm, the 10, the 25, the 50, 100, and 500. We don't really use that terminology anymore, but people are still familiar with it. A 100-year storm simply means it has a 1 in 100 chance of occurring in any given year. So a 1% chance of occurring. It may occur this year, it may occur 5 years from now, it may occur 50 years from now, but every year there's a 1% chance it would happen. So all of those frequencies were run and new floodplains were developed. And once we had those in place, then we worked with the city to say, hey, do you think we could acquire some land in this area to put in some detention? Hey, do you think we have room, we could put some additional storm sewer in this area? There may be areas where acquisition would be the most cost-effective alternative. That's a touchy subject, it's difficult to do, but sometimes you have to know what's cost-effective and what's not. And all of those types of alternatives were reviewed. We worked very closely with the city back and forth several times to come up with ideas to help address some of the flooding problems. In the end, we had 35 projects that were recommended, totaling a little over $27 million. This document, the maps and the analysis and all the data that goes along with us really should serve as a guide for future planning. It's a tool that you can use to know where your problems are, so hopefully we develop in ways that don't make our existing problems any worse. And if we can, partner with others to help us implement some of these projects to try to reduce some of the flooding and damages that we have. We were specifically asked to look at the potential for detention options in the southeast quadrant of the city. Unfortunately, by the time you get that far downstream, the drainage areas are so large and the volume and the amount of water we would be dealing with to try to put in detention ponds it would be a small lake. It wouldn't be a detention pond really anymore. And we looked at several different options. The other thing that makes it difficult is timing issues. If you have certain areas developed down there and put detention in and hold water back, and before it was leaving, before the peak flow got there, and now you hold it back a little later, and even though you don't cause an increase to what's leaving your property, you can still cause an increase in the overall channel when the peak flow gets there. It's a timing issue. It's very sensitive to timing. The main channel of the Little River has several tributaries that are roughly the same length in time, and so if you start messing with one, you can make things worse really easy if you're not careful. So we weren't able to find a sort of a magic bullet, if you will, to solve problems with detention in that area. If there are large portions of the area that are undeveloped there, developed now, there's still some things they can do with on-site detention that will certainly help, but not in terms of a large regional type structure. I thought I would walk through a couple of examples of some recommended projects that we looked at. The one that ranked out the highest was a Janeway Avenue project, and this is something that the city already has underway and under design. It was it started about the same time the Comprehensive Stormwater Management Program started, and we've been able to use our new models to adjust and how that project has been implemented to get the best bang for our buck when it comes to mitigation and allowing for future development. But this involves a flood mitigation pond in the Little River Park and a channelization project downstream along Janeway Avenue. There's a lot of erosion along there. This will have two purposes. One is to mitigate some of the flooding damage we have downstream. We experienced some of that during the flood event last year. And it will also allow for some of the areas to develop without doing on-site detention. This will serve as the detention for them. There was some HUD grant money that is helping to fund this project, and it really has multiple benefits from a quality of life issues. There's a lot of cool features that are going to be developed as part of that project, not just a detention pond and not just a channel project either. So that's a great example of a project that has more than one use and has more than one funding source, and just a lot of things rolled together in one. And a lot of times when you have big drainage problems, that's the way you have to approach solving them. There's no big pot of money from any one source that can help you fix that. Another example, one of the first things we were told about when we got here, I can still remember sitting across the table from Stan as he pointed his finger at me and said, "You got to know about this problem on Rambling Oaks Drive." And we drove out there that day and looked at it. And after we collected our surveyors went out and collected some more of the storm sewer data, we got a better idea of why some of the things were happening. There's flooding in several areas that you see identified on this map. One alternative is to replace this green line with a larger storm sewer system. That's along the current alignment, but if you look, that runs between houses that are very, very close to the line. You start trying to put a large storm sewer in between two houses, that becomes problematic, a lot of liability for the city. It's not a popular option. If we leave what's there in place and let it carry what it's capable of carrying and bring a new storm sewer along the roadway, and also address this area that drains from this cul-de-sac with a new storm sewer as well, get it down to this area, that alternative involves some replacement where it's red and new storm sewer where it's orange. That would be another alternative to consider, perhaps easier to construct and cheaper than the first alternative. The one thing we do have to be careful is to make sure once we get all this water out of here and these people don't flood us, we don't flood people downstream, and there are some areas we can do some detention to help make up for that as well. One other project I'd like to highlight, this was probably the most, for the folks that attended the public meeting, we had more comments on this specific project than any other project, and this is on the southwest side of town. I believe that's Oak Ridge subdivision and Southmore School just to the north, and there's a detention pond in this area, and it currently drains out of the yellow line that you see here. It goes out here, it turns south, crosses the street, it goes back north, and then drains out again. And there may have been some blockage in this system during the May storm events, but water flowed over through these people's backyards and through some of the houses. Water was 3 or 4 feet deep at the end of this cul-de-sac. We have video of water coming out of these storm sewers. So in other words, it was deeper in the pond than the elevation of the street and was actually contributing to flooding down here. We think we could put a backflow preventer valve on that and help out. We looked at digging the pond much bigger, and that helps a lot, but it won't solve the problem. We looked at raising this side of the pond, so if it's going to overflow, at least let it overflow in the street and not the houses. That by itself wouldn't solve the problem either. But if we do those two things and add a new storm sewer pipe to here, once we get to this location, the storm sewer has plenty of capacity, but it just doesn't have enough capacity to get all the way through the system this way. Those things together, any one of those is going to help, but those things together would really, really reduce the risk of flooding for several homeowners in this area. Another example of why it's important to have these system-wide types of models to be able to analyze these projects. If not, it would be easy to come in here and try to fix their problem with any one of these recommendations, and by themselves they wouldn't have made really a lot of impact, and you hate to do that kind of work and not get any benefit out of it. One other thing we were asked to do as part of this project was to review the city's drainage criteria. We took and copied and pasted your criteria directly into our report document and made comments on every section that we thought needed commented. So it's very clear and no ambiguity on areas we thought needed some updating and strengthening to help reduce the opportunities for us to have new developments going in that are going to contribute and make new flooding problems or to increase the risk of flooding in the city. Mainly focusing on using current methods and technologies for modeling and analyzing these problems. We've come a long way in the last 20 or 30 years, and some of your criteria still references systems that really people don't use anymore, methods that aren't used anymore. And the big goal in this is to prevent future problems. Moore still has quite a few areas to develop. In most cities, like the city of Moore is no exception, all the easy land has already been developed. All we have left is the hard land, or the areas that have flooding problems or drainage problems. So we're really going to have to be careful as we go forward as to how we tackle some of those areas. And updated drainage criteria is highly recommended to help do that. So to summarize, overall, once again, this project involved a significant data collection effort. In addition to the report that Elizabeth showed you, an electronic submittal will be given to the city that will include all the models, all the data we use to build the input that went into the models. It will also include, if you look at the exhibits in the model, everywhere that someone had a complaint, there's a dot in a map throughout town, and you can click on one of those dots and it will tell you what the complaint was. All of that data goes to the city. We took the city's storm sewer information that they had, and all the data we collected, we added to that, and we're giving that back to the city as well. We think that's the most valuable way to have this data so that people can actually use it in the future. We also updated the models. You know, these models weren't updated since the 1980s, and a lot has changed since the 1980s. And trying to do flood analysis on FEMA models that are 30 years old is problematic. So the city can use these new models as best available data when they need to, and to try to do a better job of, again, trying to keep more problems from happening with future development. So the models certainly have lots of uses, not just for the city as a planning tool, but emergency management folks can use these models. If you're trying to plan routes during flooding, it's nice to know which roads overtop and which ones don't. It's nice also to have this data to look at what your damages are, so that if you can qualify for other types of FEMA grants, where if your costs are more than, if your benefits that you're going to save by implementing a project are greater than the costs, sometimes you can get significant cost share from FEMA to help implement these projects, and the data can do that as well. And lastly, MS4 and TMDL, those really go together and go hand in hand. It was important for the city to have a plan that they could implement, something they were comfortable with, something that they could do that was practical, and that's what we tried to work with the city to develop, and they're on their way to implementing that already. And with that, I would be happy to try to answer any questions you might have about the process.
I think you may have touched on it a little bit, and not go into great detail, but will this plan help us with some of the new rules, regulations, laws that are coming down, that since our runoff and some of the couple of the creeks or rivers go into Lake Thunderbird, which is drinking water for a couple municipalities, and our runoff water is going to have to begin to meet some type of requirements, where I guess the city could possibly be fined or so forth. Does this plan address some of that?
Sure, absolutely. When I talk about the TMDL compliance and monitoring plan and the stormwater management program document, all three of those things are going to tie together. The city's going to use their stormwater management program to, one of the things, to educate and inform citizens and get the public involved, and educating them on what are the things that contribute to that. So if you're spreading fertilizer and you're spreading it on the sidewalk and into the street, that's contributing to the phosphorus loading and the nitrogen loading that goes on at the lake. If you're developing in an area and they're not putting up silt fence and other best management practices to keep the erosion from getting into the creeks, that's a problem, and that's part of the loading that's a problem. And the city can do a better job of inspection and enforcing what they have, and they can adopt stricter rules as well. Another significant contributor was coliform, so bacteria, and we have plans identified in those documents for how the city can start to find what the sources of those are coming from. Are they coming from the small farms that are in town? Are they coming from yeast population? Are they coming from sanitary sewer overflows that we don't know about? Where are these things coming from? So trying to identify, we believe the thing the city needs to do first is they're going to collect data and try to identify what is the city's big source that's contributing to that problem. We have the data that was done by OWRB's contractor years ago, but we think we need to get better, more detailed data to help identify that, and then update our approach as to how we handle that and reduce those loadings. It's a long process. It's going to take 10 or 15 years really for this to play out. It's not something you can just solve overnight. It may involve the fact you may come back and say, we think that the level was set too low, or the level was set too high or my reduction targets were unfair. Once we have more data to identify, to get a better picture of what's going on, that can be done. And everything that we laid out in our plan so far, we've worked with the city to lay out, and that's what exactly we want to do. So there's an education component, public education component. There are some actions the city can take now to start to help address that, and those are all laid out in there as well, and that's what the city's trying to do. It's not something that's going to be fixed overnight, and you won't be held to that standard as a city. So your risk of getting fined, you have a plan, it's been approved, and as long as you're working that plan, you should be in good shape.
Okay. And, you know, Brooks, I would just say, I know Norman has been working on this, and they even entertained an additional fee to their customers, to the residents, water bill, a storm utility fee or something to that effect. And I'm, you know, make sure that we do all we can to hopefully avoid having to look at doing that someday. So I just, you know, taking the plans and recommendations and all that's been presented, and it sounds like we're already doing some of the stuff, so that's good. Thank you.
Just kind of changing the subject a little bit, but 10 or 15 years down the road, and we're able to implement some of this stuff, will that change the FEMA flood maps?
Sure, it sure can. Depending on what you do, a lot of our areas that we have flooding problems are nowhere near a mapped FEMA flood zone. So
Right.
obviously,
Sure.
improvements there will have an impact.
Sure.
But in areas, for example, when the Little River Park detention pond goes in, letters of map revision will be filed with FEMA, and that will become the updated map once those are filed. And any other projects you do that would impact the floodplain would certainly get updated now. New maps may not be issued, but FEMA keeps an updated version online that you can go and look at that has the changes in there. So that's a great feature that they have now that they didn't used to have.
Cool. Good. Thank you.
Any other questions coming? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
Do we need one?
Is action item, need approval for the master plan?
Yep, I make motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you very much. We have a first and second. Would you call the vote, please?
Adam Webb,
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Danielle McKenzie,
Yes.
Melissa Hunt,
Yes.
Terry Kavner.
Yes.
Jason Blair.
Yes, item carries. Item 5, consider More Vision 2020 Comprehensive Plan Amendment Number 56, located in the northeast quarter of Section 30, Township 10 North, Range 2 West, being south of Southeast 19th Street and west of Sunny Lane Road from low-density residential to medium commercial. Application by Sandra Flippo.
Vice Mayor and Council, items 5 and 6 on your agenda are companion items. This site is located east of South Sunny Lane and south of Southeast 19th Street. The property consists of 6 acres. It is currently developed as a large acre rural residential lot. The applicant is proposing to rezone the site to C3 general commercial as a planned unit development. This is to expand the current mini storage business that is located to the north. You may remember that this was tabled on November 7th to allow the applicant to revise her application from a C5 to a C3 as a PUD. The PUD includes the following amenities: a 20-foot landscape buffer along the east property line abutting Sunny Lane Road, a 10-foot landscape buffer along the north property line abutting a residential lot, a total of 53 trees and 86 shrubs for the total project. This will be done in 2 phases. The first phase includes 33 trees and 56 shrubs, and the second phase would be 20 trees and 30 shrubs. A 6-foot high wrought iron fencing along the east property line along the Sunny Lane right-of-way. Signage is limited to monument signs consisting no more than 100 square feet, not exceeding 15 feet in height. 100% of the building facade, not including the doors to the mini storage units, are proposed to be stucco facing Sunny Lane Road. And finally, there will just be one curb cut for this project. It'll be on the north end of the property. There is a site plan included in your packets. It's on page 62. And you can see there the applicant has the project that is divided into the 2 phases. The first phase, which will consist of 4 buildings, and the second phase that will consist of 3 buildings. This amended application to the C3 as a PUD does provide amenities and assurances that will help ensure the residential nature of the area while providing the mini storage expansion that's desired by the applicant. Staff recommends approval of this application, and Planning Commission recommended approval 7-0. If you have any questions, the applicant is here, or you can ask me.
I just like the fact, one, that it went back, but I also like the way it came back as a C3 or the PUD. I think it fits. So I have no issues with it, but it's your ward. No, it's your ward.
Yeah.
It's y'all's ward.
Was anyone at the planning commission that was opposed to it?
No. After all the public hearings we had, there was no one who ever showed up to protest the item.
I motion we approve.
Second.
Thank you both. We have a motion and a second. Would you call for the vote, please?
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Danielle McKenzie.
Yes.
Melissa Hunt.
Yes.
Terry Kavner.
Yes.
And Adam Webb.
Yes.
Jason Blair.
Yes, item carries. Item 6, consider rezoning application number RZ944, located in the northeast quarter of Section 30, Township 10 North, Range 2 West, being south of Southeast 19th Street and west of Sunny Lane Road, from A1 Rural Agriculture District to C3 PUD General Commercial District Planned Unit Development, and approve ordinance number 84316. Application by Sandra Flippo.
Motion we approve.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Would you call for the vote, please?
Danielle McKenzie.
Yes.
Melissa Hunt.
Yes.
Terry Kavner.
Yes.
Adam Webb.
Yes.
Mark Ham.
Yes.
Jason Blair.
Yes, item carries. Item 7, consider rezoning application number RZ949, located in the northwest quarter of Section 11, Township 10 North, Range 3 West, being north of Highland Drive and east of I-35 Service Road, from C1 Office District to C2 Neighborhood Commercial District, and approve ordinance number 83716. Application by Kathleen Close.
Vice Mayor and Council, this property is located north of Highland Drive and east of the I-35 Service Road. It's also known as 2500 North Broadway. The property was historically used as a residential lot as platted in the Highland Petition. However, the house was destroyed in the May 3rd, 1999 tornado, and it has been vacant ever since. The applicant has previously rezoned the property in 2015 to C1 Office District. The applicant would now like to rezone the property to C2 Neighborhood Commercial District to accommodate neighborhood commercial uses, specifically a mattress sales, retail sales. A 6-inch water line and 8-inch sewer line currently serve the property. The proposed lot will be accessed from North Broadway Avenue. There is no floodplain located at this location. With the property being adjacent to single-family homes to the east and the south, consideration should be given to what negative impacts a light commercial use may have on the surrounding residential properties. A mattress store or similar neighborhood uses are low impact in nature, with limited traffic generation and limited operating hours. Additionally, the city's development regulations do require bricking, landscaping, site-proof fencing, low impact lighting. These things would further complement the surrounding land uses. Curb cuts onto Highland Drive shall not be allowed. This is to minimize commercial traffic within the Highland Park addition. The site is shown on the comprehensive plan as light commercial because C2 uses are light commercial in nature. An amendment to the comprehensive plan is not required. This property has been vacant since the '99 tornado. The applicant's proposal for a neighborhood commercial land use at this location is viewed as compatible with the adjacent residential neighborhood. It does allow for a transitional buffer between the interstate and residential uses to the east. Staff recommends approval of this application. The Planning Commission, after hearing the application, did recommend denial from 5 to 2. They felt that some C2 uses were more retail in nature and maybe too intense for the neighborhood, specifically those that involve having commercial trucks on site and rely on advertising signs in the yard, etc. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them. The applicant is also here if you have any questions of her.
And this shows Ward 1, but this is actually Ward 2, correct?
Yes, that is
yeah.
correct.
I've received several calls about this from the neighbors that are right along that area that are against it, and they're concerned about the trucks and the traffic and all that it's going to bring to those houses and them getting in and out of their neighborhood. Even without the curb cut, I think there's just still some concern. So,
Are there commercial properties neighboring this site? I'm looking at the map, though.
There are commercial properties that back up to the neighborhood. But this lot was originally as a residential home, was possibly just developed for that use. So the other sites that have commercial that back up to the neighborhood, they have larger frontage along the frontage road to allow them to have better access to North Broadway Avenue. This one would be probably a smaller site, could be tight depending on the user that goes in.
It says 0.42 acres, so we're talking about less than half an acre. We're talking about a pretty small. What's a normal commercial lot?
They really vary greatly. So for example, just south of this on Northeast 23rd Street, there's a little, it's like a restaurant and a educational center that Home Creations has constructed. That's also on a very similar lot, possibly a little bit smaller than this.
and that's what's been cited to me as the issue with the traffic and how many people are in that location at one time and the noise and all of that. So.
Yeah.
Did neighbors show up to the planning commission?
They did not. We've heard this item on 3 to 4 separate occasions, and no neighbors have showed up to the planning commission.
Is there anyone here who would like to speak? Don't have anyone signed up, but you, the property owner? Yes, please, if you would.
Kathleen Close, and I live at 117 Southwest 39th in Oklahoma City. But I've been a Moore resident before that for 25 or 30 years. I did buy this property from my best friend in high school, Mindy Denham, and they own New Way Laundries. I bought the Gold Dome building as well, and intended to build an office for my investigative company and a print shop that my daughter owns. But last year, my father-in-law died and we inherited 33 acres south of Goldsby, so we're building a huge family ranch for all 3 of us to live on and put our business there. When Mindy bought that property in '99, when the New Way got leveled, they bought that thinking that they might expand at some time. New Way zoned C5 right next to it, and there is warehousing there. So when her dad died about 12 years ago, she tried to sell this residential plot and nobody wanted it because nobody wanted to live on Broadway. So when I purchased that from her, we rezoned it to R1. I was going to move in there. We had a change. We did request a C3 through the Planning Commission. We had gone into the city offices and said, we've had this for sale for a year as a C1 and there were no takers, and the commercial realtor suggested we bump it up a little bit to give it a little more opportunity. So in talking with Elizabeth and Nora, we all discussed, let's do C3. We came here and suggested C3, and I can't remember his name, Randy, maybe the planning commissioner that lives in that addition, we had some dialogue, and he said he really didn't feel comfortable with C3 because he was afraid there could be a restaurant or traffic, but he felt fine with a C2. So we changed our entire process, reapplied as a C2, and then at that meeting, he had a problem with C2. I'm not sure why he changed his mind. Nobody has protested or called or come to the meetings. There's Bullfrog Spa that's in the Go building now. They do warehousing. There's the trailer company, and then there's Starbucks. I don't know why something in this little less than half an acre would be deemed as something as more traffic, just because it's on the end with the only approaches coming from Broadway. We did have a mattress company that had a contract and they couldn't get it financed, so it's back up for sale, and we would like to rezone it to C2 just to light business, to try to find something to go in there.
So the mattress company isn't gonna go in there,
No.
but we don't know what's gonna go in there.
Yeah. And, but I don't know if the trailer company comes through the lot, or Bullfrog has their spas delivered. I don't know if they come through that neighborhood. I didn't really see that as an issue, but anyways, that's the story, and we just wanted to upgrade it to a light C2 to try to get something there that's useful.
I make a motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Well, Adam,
Just,
I
yeah.
I thought I knew where it was at, but Adam actually pulled it up so you can see exactly where it's at over here. I mean, that's a commercial piece of property.
On Google Earth, you look, it does have it's
Yeah,
the
as long as there's no
Gold
curb
Building,
cuts into Highland,
a
into that
U-Haul
neighborhood.
place, which
Right.
there's a Starbucks. And then on the following side, there is a lawn with a fence, but then right next to that, it's all commercial on that service road.
But, I mean, I'm sure you were right. Nobody's gonna buy that for residential use whatsoever.
She tried for 10 years.
Yeah. So I don't have an issue with it.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Would you call for the vote, please?
Melissa Hunt,
Yes.
Terry Kavner,
Yes.
Adam Webb,
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Danielle McKenzie,
Yes.
Jason Blair.
Yes, item carries. Item 8. Excuse me. All right. Here we go.
You wanna take a break for it?
I do. Walk around for a second. Item 8, consider ordinance number 84116, amending Part 15, Chapter 1, Section 15-102 of the Moore Municipal Code by amending the definition of bicycle, commercial chauffeur, commercial vehicle, license to operate a motor vehicle, motorcycle, motor-driven cycle, park or parking, railroad sign or signal, revocation of driver's license, stand or standing, stop or stopping, suspension of driver's license, taxi cab vehicle, Section 15-103 by providing for online verification system for motor vehicle insurance, Chapter 2, Section 15-203, correcting typographical error, Chapter 2, Section 15-205, amending requirements for crossing railroad tracks, Section 15-206 by adding flashing yellow arrow. Chapter 3, Section 15-304, adding snow, ice, or frost to windshield and window obstructions. Section 15-305, deleting state safety inspection stickers. Chapter 4, Section 15-401, removing 10-ton weight limit on Santa Fe Avenue between Southwest 34th Street and Southwest 4th Street. Section 15-404, providing owner or insurer of owner be responsible for cost of vehicle and debris removal after accident. Chapter 5, Section 15-505, establishing requirements for driving on right side of roadway and exceptions. Section 15-503, establishing requirements for passing vehicle on left. Section 15-516, establishing the penalty to texting while driving at $100 or maximum set by state law. No additional court costs to be to be assessed. Section 15-520, amending 15-519 to 15-521 due to typographical error. Section 15-521A for grammatical reasons. Section 15-523, establishing an offense for operating a motor vehicle with a suspended Department of Public Safety setup number. Section 15-543, amending child passenger restraint systems or seatbelt and penalties to comply with state law. Section 15-544, amending seatbelt requirements to comply with state law. Chapter 6, Section 15-601A7, changing 3 to 30 due to typographical error. Section 15-506, I'm sorry. Section 15-608, establishing a procedure for removal of parked vehicles parked in private spaces without permission of owner. Chapter 7, Section 15-702, amending certain special speed regulations and their locations. Chapter 11, Section 15-1101, by repealing the requirement for the city clerk to maintain a truck route map. Chapter 13, Section 15-1303, removing certain language due to typographical error. Chapter 14, Section 15-1403, changing operator to chauffeur license to driver's license. Section 15-1405, changing operator or chauffeur license to driver's license. Section 15-1406, by deleting the requirement that notice of an accident be reported on forms provided by the police department. Chapter 15, Section 15-1502, adding turn signals as required by motorcycle equipment as provided by state law. Chapter 16, Section 15-1610, amending bicycle brakes to require bicycles to be stopped within 25 feet at 10 miles per hour. Section 15-1625, permitting the revocation of bicycle license for unsafe bicycle, providing for repealer and providing for severability. I'm not doing that again. So please
Somebody's
translate.
been busy.
So Vice Mayor, Council, in our recodification process, we had each one of the department heads go through their section and draft or find areas that needed changes, find the typographical errors in each one of their sections. So this section here deals with Title 15, which is the traffic section. The next one on the agenda deals with the parks and cemeteries. And in the following item, number 10, deals with what's called crimes and offenses. So what we have done is the police department broke this down. They went through each one of their areas and everybody compiled their changes. The hard work of going through the ordinances and getting those changes and bringing them to me was done by a lot of other people. I'm just the one that wrote the huge title. So I'll take blame for that. But this way, we wrestled back and forth on whether, or I did anyway, on whether or not to do it in one big ordinance and take care of it all at once, or to do it in each and every separate ordinance. If we thought this title was long, we probably would have been here for hours, as you can see, reading each and every one of these ordinances. But the majority of them deal with typographical errors. The majority of them, they deal with bringing our law into a one-section document that brings in some of the state law changes that have gone on over the years. There's not a lot of substantive, big-time changes in these things. They look a little daunting, a little large to begin with, but it clears up a lot of things and will get us ready for a packet to be sent off for a total codification.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Would you call for the vote, please?
Terry Kavner,
Yes.
Adam Webb,
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Danielle McKenzie,
Yes.
Melissa Hunt,
Yes.
and Jason Blair.
Yes, item carries.
The other ones aren't quite so.
Item 9, consider ordinance number 84016, amending Chapter 1, Article A, Section 11-102 of the Moore Municipal Code by deleting the requirement of an annual written report and amending Article B, Section 11-113 by establishing hours of operation for the groups of Central Park, amending Section 11-114, providing for an exception to the glass containers at the 4th of July celebration to properly permitted vendors and purchasers, amending Section 11-116, providing an exception of any area designated as a dog park, amending Section 11-117 by adding the word dive, providing for a repealer, and providing for severability.
What, just real quick, Todd, what are the hours of operation for the park of people just out walking the trail or?
It's open 5 a.m. till midnight.
Okay, thanks.
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you both. We have a motion and a second. Would you call for the vote, please?
Adam Webb,
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Danielle McKenzie,
Yes.
Melissa Hunt,
Yes.
Terry Kavner,
Yes.
Jason Blair.
Yes, item carries. Item 10, consider ordinance number 84216, amending Part 10, Chapter 4, Section 10-407, repealing the authorization of turkey or ham shoots within the city limits, amending Part 10, Section 10-517, changing typographical error, amending Part 10, Section 10-518 by including digital format and definition of material.
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you both. Would you call for the vote, please?
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Danielle McKenzie,
Yes.
Melissa Hunt,
Yes.
Terry Kavner,
Yes.
Adam Webb,
Yes.
Jason Blair.
Yes, item carries. Item 11, discuss, consider, and if deemed appropriate, approve the relocation of Fire Station Number 2 to 630 Northwest 5th.
Vice Mayor and Council let you know we have started the process of replacing Fire Station Number 2. It's currently located at 725 Northwest 12th, and we've been looking at the possibility of moving it to 630 Northwest 5th. If you're not quite familiar with that address, that's where the old kids' play used to be. Excuse me. This has been discussed previously in one of the council meetings, and staff is now seeking formal approval of this move. If we stayed at our current location, the frontage on that area is only 100 feet on 12th Street. The Station 3 and 4, our last stations we built, are actually 115 feet wide. So we could either go to a 2-story building or we move way back on the lot. To go to a 2-story building, the upcharge for going 2 stories is about $40 to $50 a foot. And that's an 8,600 square foot building. And plus you have to add another 1,500 square feet because you have to have 2 stairwells and an elevator. So it's real close to an additional $1 million if we want to go 2-story. And then, again, like I said, moving to the back, we would be about 275 to 300 feet off the road, way back at that location. I've checked with ISO and I've checked our run stats and everything. The ISO representative said this will not affect our ISO rating. So
That's what I was gonna ask, yeah.
Yeah, that was my question.
I talked to our representative personally. He said we'll lose a little coverage, of course, on north by, it's actually, I kind of tried to measure it by street. It's like 2,800 feet by road footage. It's almost straight southward side.
Right.
And it's, the lot there would be a 200 by 300 lot. And that's the same exact size lot that Station 3 is setting.
Does the current location give us plenty of room for the training station?
Actually, this will help because we'll be moving the station and that'll free up more room for the, because if we move the station actually backwards, then we eat up a lot of the room that we have for the training building and things like that. And then eventually, some of the bigger part of that land could be used for concreting in a building where we can drive fire truck apparatus for training, and the police department would actually use it for their motorcycle training if they wish.
Cool.
Thank you, Chief. We have a motion?
Motion.
Go ahead.
Make a motion we approve.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Would you call for a vote, please?
Danielle McKenzie,
Yes.
Melissa Hunt,
Yes.
Terry Kavner.
Yes.
Adam Webb.
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Jason Blair.
Yes, item carries. Thank you. Item 12, consider approval of a letter agreement and release of right-of-way agreement with Short Junction Operating LLC and approve payment of $215,000 for said release.
Vice Mayor and Council, this line is not in operation currently. However, the easement does exist. And it's actually, there's a conflict with two projects, one of them being the I-35 overpass, and the other project is the STP project on 34th Street between Santa Fe and Telephone Road. The owner of this easement has agreed on a settlement price, as you see in front of you, and we feel like this is a significant cost savings to the city versus relocating this pipeline throughout these two projects. It is in conflict on both projects, not the entire length of both projects, but there would have to be relocations if it stays in place. If there's any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them.
So understanding this letter, we're going to pay them the $215,000, just leave it as is since it's not operable anyway.
Correct.
Okay. Motion we approve.
Second.
Thank you both. Would you call for the vote, please?
Melissa Hunt,
Yes.
Terry Kavner.
Yes.
Adam Webb.
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Danielle McKenzie,
Yes.
Jason Blair.
Yes, item carries. At this time, we will recess the city council meeting and convene the Moore Public Works Authority meeting. Item 13 is the consent docket. Item A, receive and approve the minutes of the regular Moore Public Works Authority meeting held December 5th, 2016. Item B, approve and ratify claims and expenditures for FY 2016-2017 in the amount of $422,398.03.
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you both. Would you call for the vote, please?
Terry Kavner,
Yes.
Adam Webb.
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Danielle McKenzie.
Yes.
Melissa Hunt,
Yes.
Jason Blair.
Yes, item carries. Item 14, consider approval of an agreement with Community Care HMO, Inc. to provide an employee assistance program for $1.80 per employee per month for 1 year with provisions to renew automatically for 1-year terms.
Vice Mayor and Trustees, Integris Mental Health will stop providing employee assistance program services at the end of the month. They've been our provider for many years. Matter of fact, I've been here for almost 18 years, and they've been, I think, the whole time. But they've decided to get out of that business. I had David Fleet, our consultant with Gallagher, shop the market to come up with a new provider. He came up with several options, and after reviewing the options, the staff recommends that the trustees approve an agreement with Community Care HMO to provide EAP services for our employees. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank
How
you.
does the cost compare to what we were paying?
It's actually going to be less.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you both. Would you call for the vote, please?
Adam Webb,
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Danielle McKenzie.
Yes.
Melissa Hunt,
Yes.
Terry Kavner,
Yes.
and Jason Blair.
Yes, item carries. At this time, we will recess the Moore Public Works Authority meeting and convene the Moore Risk Management meeting. Item 15 is the consent docket. Item A, accept the minutes of the regular Moore Risk Management meeting held December 5th, 2016. Item B, approve and ratify claims and expenditures for FY 2016-2017 in the amount of $157,499.82.
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you both. Would you call for the vote, please?
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Danielle McKenzie,
Yes.
Melissa Hunt,
Yes.
Terry Kavner,
Yes.
Adam Webb,
Yes.
Jason Blair.
Yes, item carries. At this time, we will recess the Moore Risk Management meeting and convene the Moore Economic Development Authority meeting.
Item 16 is the roll call. Just call the roll, please.
Danielle McKenzie,
Here.
Jason Blair,
Here?
Melissa Hunt,
Here.
Adam Webb,
Here.
Mark Ham,
Here.
Terry Kavner.
Here. Item 17, the consent docket. Item A, receive and approve the minutes of the regular Moore Economic Development Authority meeting held November 21st, 2016.
Move to approve.
Second.
Call for vote, please.
Jason Blair,
Yes.
Melissa Hunt,
Yes.
Adam Webb,
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Danielle McKenzie,
Yes.
Terry Kavner.
Yes, item passes. This time we'll recess the Moore Economic Development Authority meeting and reconvene the city council meeting.
Thank you. Item 18 is new business. Item A, citizens forum for items not on the agenda. I don't have anyone signed up. Is there anyone who'd like to speak? Item B, items from the city council or trustees.
Council, I would just like for us to possibly reconsider or look at again the, coming up with a city ordinance pertaining to containers, shipping containers. I don't know, it's been a while back we looked at it, we presented something, but we were kind of directed by the council then to go back and look at it again, and we never have. So I know our mayor's not here tonight, but Brooks, maybe if you could talk with him and let him know that we discussed that and see what his thoughts are, and maybe we can put together something similar. We had some of the planning commission and a couple of city council persons look at that and see if we can come up with something to address the issue of shipping containers and where they're located. And I agree with that.
I agree with that. I kind of thought we said go back and look at some of those bigger, that have Christmas shipping containers and how we could address that so that they could still do that and then come back, and we just never saw it again.
I agree.
Anything else? Item C is items from the city trust manager.
Vice Mayor and Council, just want to thank Linda Stewart, Randy Brink, and the other members of the city staff for their work on the recodification project. This took several months, and we wanted to go back and try and bring everything up to date. It's been many years since our ordinances have been recodified, and I appreciate their efforts.
Thank you very much. Item 19 is adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Would you call for the vote, please?
Terry Kavner,
Yes.
Adam Webb,
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Danielle McKenzie,
Yes.
Melissa Hunt,
Yes.
Jason Blair.
Yes, we are adjourned.